is Mitch Hull, National Teams Director for USA Wrestling. Mitch, tell us about what's going on in the Olympic fight right now.
Well, right now, actually, Rich Bender is over at the European Championships working with the new interim president of the International Federation, Lalovic, and some of the other countries working on looking at a proclamation of International Wrestling Month in May and kind of the things that we're going to do with that with some of our foreign brothers in this fight. So, that's happening right now. There's a lot of other things happening with the promotion at FILA and who's going to be in charge of that, kind of the leadership they're running. There's many things going on that we need to line up. They've got FILA has a promotion and marketing group that they're signing on with this Tenio company, which is the same company that helped help the Russians get the Olympics in Sochi. So the Russians are on board with this group. We certainly are, and they've worked a lot with the IOC. So they're going to be really leading the plans internationally with us, kind of setting the agenda on how we go about with each member of the IOC. Because the number one thing we've got to do is get with the people that are voting on our sport and get them to understand the importance of wrestling. We're in this position because of 8 individuals on the executive committee of the IOC, so it's not representative of the entire IOC board, and they're voting on that later on. So our job really is to get wrestling in front of them, to get them to understand the worldwide importance of our sport.
What are the top several priorities that we have in this fight?
Well, that depends upon if you're talking about in the United States or really in the world. The first priority is, of course, when you're trying to put this sport, I shouldn't say we're trying to keep it in, because we're not out of the games. We're in the games. We have the opportunity to be one of the 3 sports that they'll vote on to be put into the games, or we have the vote where they have to approve or not the executive committee. So there's 2 routes here. The first round, of course, is in May, when they meet. The IOC executive committee meets to determine the sports that are up to be added to the games. They're going to take that number of 8 sports and narrow it to 3. So our job will be to make sure wrestling is one of those 3 sports. But that's the plan B. And then, of course, plan A is to have the board not approve the recommendation of the IOC executive committee in September. So that's priority right now, is to get that platform, get our plan on how we're going to do that internationally. Of course, that's the leadership of FILA is going to have to do that. But Lalovic has been very receptive so far to what we would like to have brought forward, along with the rest of the world. And then Stan Dezic has been put in a major role of marketing or putting our sport for FILA into the games. And then Bill Scheer is leading our effort with the international relations part. We've also, priority is also raising the funds to do this. I mean, it's a $2 to $3, probably $3 million additional effort, and led by some great people, with Mike Novogratz, the committee. John Bardis is helping oversee that. We've got, I'm leaving out a lot of people that are really involved. Art Martori, Jim Ravnak, of course, our president, and then Rich Bender. I mean, that's the leadership core that's really approaching this right now.
So if I make a donation or I buy a T-shirt or whatever, what's that money being spent on?
It's great question, and we're actually laying out that so that we can tell the people exactly what we're doing, because there's little things and then there's major things. I mean, we're part of the group that's helped fund the marketing and promotions group Tenio to be able to get them on board. It's a large 6-figure, almost a $7-figure commitment to get that leadership. And then we've got to get our leadership. Rich Bender, like I said, just went over to the Europeans. He was at the World Cup in Iran. We've got to get our other leaders, Stan Dezic, Bill Scheer, and that they're going to have to go where the IOC members are. So you've got that. There's a marketing and promotions effort in the United States for wrestling to keep it going. So there's a lot of areas this is happening.
Are we going to see rule changes again?
I think what's good about this is, in this crisis, everything is up for debate. Will there be? There's absolutely going to be. I can say with certainty there'll be changes. Now, when you say again, if you really look at it, over the last 6-8 years, the rules haven't really changed at all.
Right.
So it's been pretty stable. That doesn't mean they are very good rules. There's some things that need to change. Lalovic himself, as the head of, as his interim role, has said he does not want the clinch.
Okay.
So, which is great. I mean, we've been opposed to it, but it's now coming from the leadership there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see changes there. You know, everything. Again, Ray, what's great about this? Everything is open right now with a crisis like this. I think you're going to see changes in our officiating and our officials' education, which the officials need the help there. If we want to have better officiating, FILA needs to do a better job training, and they don't. So that's one thing that's up. There's a change. I think you're going to see a clear change in the structure of leadership of the International Federation, so that an individual couldn't be president for life if they wanted to be. And I know you vote on this every 6 years, but once somebody gets themselves in a position, they can pretty well ingrain themselves as long as they want. And I see that structure is up for grabs and changing. How the tournaments are run, whether it's a 1-day or 2-day format, those are being questioned. Whether we do 3 periods, 3 individual resets, or 2 periods that go to 6 minutes and it's a full time. All of that, the out of bounds rule, the points, we have been charged. The IF, our International Federation, has come out with Lalovic and new leadership saying we have to make the sport dynamic and media and television friendly and fan friendly. So that means you got to change things, and it doesn't happen overnight. We've had some great people in the U.S. going over this, but they're talking about this in Russia. They're talking about it in Iran. Every place. Now we just got to put it together and see what we can come up with. But I will guarantee it's going to be better than it is now. Just eliminating the clinch, as far as I'm concerned, will make it better.
Well, now there's referees education, but education only goes so far when, frankly, the referees are, biased or corrupt. And it seems like they're on the tip lately where they want to do something about that. But are they, that's a big one. Are they actually going to tackle it, and how long will it last?
Well, again, Ray, great question. And it's something I can't answer for certain until we put it in place. But, things have changed. I have to give Rafi a little bit of credit on some of the stuff. He's randomized the refereeing where it's no longer before the session starts who's going to referee a match. Where now you can get to that person,
right.
And that doesn't happen.
Okay.
That's been eliminated. But there are still some things that I can't prove somebody is corrupt unless I see the money.
We can't prove it, but we all know it.
That's fine. I can't, and maybe we don't all know it, but we all suspect it at least. We can't, in that case. So what you have to do is you have to set up a process that addresses that, so that if I have a concern, we should be able to do like the NCAA does. When they're done with this tournament, the people involved, the universities or the coaches, however you want to say that, it could be, with us it would be the countries, should have the ability to evaluate this, just like you do here. And the very best ones, they come back. The lowest ones, they don't. Well, if I'm suspecting somebody, and a lot of other countries are, we should be able to, through a process, say, all right, you're done for 2 years.
Right.
Right? Now, you can become a referee. Your country could bring you back after 2 years, but you didn't score high enough here. Whatever the value, they may have been pretty good, but we know that there's some potential corruption there. That alone would put him in the bottom.
Okay.
And so that's a process. Whether they do that or not, I don't know. But this is being considered, because what's really important is you can go back to boxing. And boxing almost got eliminated from the Olympics because of the problem they had with the judging. And they had to change their judging to stay in the Olympics. This is the same thing. Our sport doesn't want to have it questioned with regard to with corruption and officiating. Whether there is or isn't, what you need to do is set a process up that protects that. So I mean, like I said, Ray, everything. This is what's so great about this. This is why we believe that in the end, this would be the best thing that's ever happened to our sport.
Yeah, that which does not kill us makes us stronger, so we'll see if it kills us. But if we get it through, I believe you. So what could USA Wrestling have done better, and what mistakes have we made that contributed to this?
That's a fair question, because people are going to ask, how did this happen? What were you doing, USA Wrestling? And that the bulk of this has to lie on the International Federation. There are some things that we could probably go on for an hour or two with. I remember Rich Bender saying something to Raffi Martinetti about something that Raffi just, don't worry. And they were little things, but it showed you the mentality of what the leadership was. It's very difficult. People have asked, well, you should have stood up and gotten rid of him 10 years ago. You should have, and I've heard that. And what you need to understand is the question was, if it didn't work, which group of athletes would you have wanted to hurt? Because as you know, Ray, when you were internationally competing, if we would have led that and it would have failed miserably, then the point is you just talked about refereeing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been very hard to see, one by one our guys getting. It doesn't take much at that level, as you know, to win or lose.
Yeah.
There's not much difference. So it wouldn't have been very hard. And then we would have been strongly criticized for what were you doing. What needs to be pointed out is this is how difficult it would have been. In this crisis, everybody put this on the shoulders of Raffi Martinetti, who really should bear this. He wouldn't let anybody else represent the IOC, or excuse me, our International Federation with the IOC. He took that as his job, and he didn't do it. We weren't in a position to handle it. So obviously, this laid on his shoulders. And as bad as it was, we're talking about our sport being eliminated. The vote was 11-10 in non-support. Okay, so how do you think it could have happened before? That people would have, these international federations, some of them are trying to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there's been such a push that anybody coming in going forward would be, their job would be to serve wrestling, not to have wrestling serve them. That's what some of this happens. But so the question comes back, what didn't you do? What should you have done? There's not a lot that one country, very little that one country can do at the IOC level. They're not going to listen to USA Wrestling. Can't go to the IOC and get a meeting. They would tell you, they'd stop you right at the door. Get to your federation and have your international federation, if they have an issue, address the IOC. So there's, countries are limited in what can be done in these situations.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ray.